Welcome to the I Saved You, Now Do the Dishes podcast. I'm author and speaker Carrie Severson. In each episode, I'll share stories and tips from my experience with caregiving and advocacy through my husband's cancer journey. So let's get into it. Hi, welcome to the last edition of the first season of I Saved You, Now Do the Dishes. Thanks for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this season. I have to admit, it's a very interesting experience talking about cancer and caregiving a year after it happened. This provided me a great opportunity to heal aspects of my journey that I didn't know I still needed to heal. And throughout this experience, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. My brother-in-law is currently waiting for a diagnosis. And I've gone through a health weird thing myself where they found 2 masses in my breast. I hope that this show has provided you with a good insight into what it's really like being married to a patient undergoing cancer treatment in America, what it's really like being a caregiver, what it's really like being a family caregiver. My hope is that I provided you with some resources or resources you can share with somebody going through it, cancer caregiving in America, and tips to support your nervous system so that you're able to move out of fight or flight and into a state of relaxation. My top ones, cold therapy. There's plenty of ice rollers you can get on Amazon. $5, $7, pop them in your fridge, your freezer, run them up and down your vagus nerve for 60 seconds at a time. Box breathing, breathing technique taught to the Navy SEALs. There's plenty of other breathing techniques as well. The triangle effect, 4, 7, 8. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale through your mouth for 8. Emotional frequency technique is the tapping, where you're starting on the side of your hand, you're going around your eye, underneath your nose, underneath your lips, on your collarbone, underneath your arm. You're moving anxiety, energy, stagnant energy out of your body. Meditation is a great one. Yawning is a great one. Laughing is a great one. Laughing is like my favorite, which is why I'm always talking about finding the simple joys, right? Little tiny snippets of life can help you laugh. And as caregivers, we need that. So in this final episode, I'm going to share what happened after Gavin rang the bell. We got home. We were basically told he had to come back. I think it was like the next week or 2 weeks later to have a post meeting with his radiologist. And, meanwhile, I had filed a complaint against his original PA, and he was given a new PA. And so after he rang the bell, this is coming back to me. After he rang the bell, we were walking down the hallway. He's like, let's get the F out of here. There's a woman walking behind us, and she's really close. I mean, she's so close that I could see her ponytail swinging out of the corner of my eye. And I stop and I look around and I'm like, can I help you? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm Dr. blah, blah, blah. I can't even remember if she called herself doctor. She introduced herself and she's like, can I pop you into a meeting or a room really quick? I'd like to have a quick look at you. And so, I'm like, sure. Gavin is like, I want to leave. But it started to hit me that this was his new physician's assistant. And I'm like, oh, yeah, totally. Let's go meet her. So I'm fairly certain we set up a couple of meetings with her I think it was like 2 weeks and then a month. But a ton of stuff had to happen even after his treatment ended. In order for him to get the feeding tube out, he had to have 30 straight days of solid food. He couldn't use the feeding tube at all. So his treatment ended March something of 2024. He wasn't anywhere close to eating, full time, but we had to schedule meetings with the speech and swallow therapist so that he could literally start learning how to use his throat again. That was an experience. I don't think we had a close or follow-up conversation with oncology, but there were still things that we had to do. Gavin didn't want to worry about any of it. He was like, cancer treatment's done. Peace out. I had a follow-up conversation with my doctor because my body was just like broken. I was much heavier than I'd ever been. Obviously not sleeping well because Gavin, we were both so worried that he was going to choke and, on his own, on these mucus cords that were in his throat, that any sound he made, I was like Johnny on the spot, even though there wasn't much I can do. I was not sleeping well. And so I wanted to put energy on me and my health. I wanted labs done. I probably needed to be put on some hormone replacement stuff. I definitely needed, vitamins. I needed to start taking care of myself. So the very next day after Gavin's treatment ends, we're standing in the kitchen. And meanwhile, we don't have to use the sedation anymore, anti-anxiety. Great. One less thing that keeps him in a state of zombie. But he's still on oxy. He's still on fentanyl. He's still on gabapentin. He was doing his best. He was doing his best not to use magic mouthwash anymore. He wasn't really keen on doing Tylenol or ibuprofen anymore. But the things that he was still taking required me to administer through his feeding tube. Gabapentin had to be, I'm fairly certain it was gabapentin, or maybe it was oxy. I can't remember. One of them had to be refrigerated. We put the fentanyl were just like patches. And so our kitchen table looked like a pharmacy. His kids were staying with his ex-wife because I just couldn't manage anything. I just couldn't manage anything anymore. And before the kids started coming back into the house, I wanted to get a safe. I wanted to put these, things in a safe, not just hanging out, in the fridge and in the kitchen, on the kitchen counter. But really his white blood cell count was still fairly low. And we were just giving him a couple more weeks to sort of heal before the kids started coming back in. But what he really wanted to do was go on a road trip. He was like, I feel like I was a dog on a chain for the last several months. I need to get out of here. Let's go to Oregon. He's on one side of the counter. I'm sitting on the other side. And I'm like, I have zero desire to drive you to Oregon because you're so high. I'm not getting in the car with you. And no doctor has given you permission to drive. So that's the other thing I don't think people talk about. Driving on these drugs is actually really dangerous. And we were told many times by many different doctors that he should not be driving, and that in the event he is behind the wheel, and gets pulled over, it's serious. And so I was like, no way. He could barely keep his eyes open the majority of the time. So he didn't fight the driving thing in the beginning. But eventually He was like, yeah, I need some freedom here. I need something to make me feel like I'm actually living again. So the very first day after his treatment ended, he's like, let's go on a road trip. No, I'm not doing that. It's going to take like 3 days just to get there. I have to pack up formula. I have to pack up a cooler with these drugs and syringes. And I'm like, I don't even know if it's legal to, like, we have like fentanyl patches. Like, how is that legal to travel with? I don't know. I'm not interested in looking this up. Okay. I'm not doing it. He was really disappointed. You know, he had his sights, like, let's just go to the beach. No. I'm like, I am tired of driving. I'm tired of being on your schedule. And I still had to be on his schedule because, you know, he still needed help administering all these things and keeping track of everything. And honestly, that is part of my role as his caregiver. Like, you know, he would sleep through times for his next dose. And if I didn't do it, I didn't stay on top of it, his pain would be so overwhelming. And, you know, I don't want that for him. So I was still on his timeline. But I really started to be over it. I wanted to put energy on me and my life. I did not need anything else on my plate. Driving across the country did not feel like a good idea. So a few days later, we're past that point in the conversation. He's accepted the fact that I'm not willing to do this, get in the car and go anywhere at least until he no longer needs all the drugs that he's on. Like one less drug. And then we'll consider driving up to Flagstaff or driving up to Sedona, 90 minutes versus 3 days in the car. That's fine. And even a 90-minute drive would still mean I would have to have at least a little bit of oxy on me, a syringe of oxy, or a few pills that I could crush up and put water in, I decide I need to start working out again. I need to start going back to the gym. So it was like, he's done with treatment and we're both on two very different healing journeys, but we're still really attached to the same thing, right? The cancer thing is still here. It's not like treatment stops and he's 100%. All of these layers have to be stripped down and looked at and let go, healed. How we do that is very different. He still isn't using his esophagus. He's still not using his throat. His healing journey is a physical one first, and then a mental, spiritual, emotional, right? Where I'm sort of attacking it all at the same time. And I decide the best way to do that is to start taking boxing classes. I jump into class and then the next class and then the next class. And I'm lifting weights again and lifting too heavy, too fast. And I'm letting go of as much rage as I can. My parents are supporting, they're showing up, they're helping. Christmas finally gets to come down because our agreement was that Christmas stays in the house until after all this because I, didn't have the energy to take Christmas down, get spring up. So we missed Valentine's Day, we missed St. Patrick's Day, and I have, fun, cute little knickknacks and stuff that would go around the house. So it's like the end of the first week that he's done with treatment and Gavin's like, okay, I need spring to be up. He's like, I'm ready for Christmas. I'm ready for something new. I didn't have any energy to do it. No desire. So call my mom. She loves this stuff. And I'm like, Mom, can you come take Christmas down and put spring up for me? And she's like, I'll be there in 30 minutes. She's like, go get yourself a massage. So I book a massage, come back. Christmas is down. Spring is up. It felt very symbolic. And while she's there, I get a call from the formula rep who's still supporting us because he's still not considered a GI client. And she's like, so I've got good news and I got bad news. And I'm like, I don't have any room for bad news. So let's just try to reframe the bad as good. What do you got? And she's like, well, so there's 2 shipments. And she did a really good job. I remember that. She really tried. She's like, there's 2 shipments coming to you. One is coming today and one will come next week. And I'm like, okay, what's the shipment today? She's like, the new formula. You'll have a month's worth. It'll be there really soon. Okay. And she goes, and then also coming today are the bags. Oh my gosh, the gravity bags. Amazing. I'm so excited. And she's like, yeah. Okay. So the other good news, she was really cute, Tracy. She's like, the other good news is next week you'll get the gravity pole. And then she stops and I'm like, so I have the bags today. I have his new formula today, but I don't have anything to hang it from. And she's like, yes. Okay. So I'm standing there with my mom and we're like, in my mind, I'm like, I guess I could take a hanger and I could wrap it around this pole and he could, sit out. I'm like trying to MacGyver something I can hang a bag from. And I had heard a lot of people hung them from hangers. So now I just got to find a place that he can sit. And my mom is so practical, so great. She's like, why don't you just drive to a secondhand medical store and see if they have a gravity pole? I would have never thought of that. I mean, like, I'm over here trying to mismatch, hodgepodge something together. And she's like, just go see if you can find one. So I Googled medical store. There's one like 10 minutes away. I called him up and I'm like, hey, do you have a gravity bag? And he's like, yeah, I got one. It's $50. I'm like, okay, I'll be there in like 5 minutes. I'll be there 10 minutes. Save it. Do not give it to anybody. I was so excited. So I run down there. I get the gravity pole. Best $50 I've ever spent. I'm so excited. I shove it in my car, race home, get in the house. My husband's sleeping on the couch. My mom is on the other side and she's like knitting or something. And the doorbell rings. Like as soon as I get home, the doorbell rings. Gavin gets up. I open the door and there's all these boxes. It's formula. It's pretty heavy too. They're like 25-pound boxes, a ton of them worth a month. And then the bags. And there's this other box and it's addressed to me. This is cute. I got my own little gift. Bring everything inside. I walk around the house pumping the gravity pole up and down and I'm so excited. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so grateful for my mom for suggesting it. Gavin is all excited because he feels like he's been chained like a dog and everything revolves around this stupid feeding tube and all these drugs. And we immediately tested out. The first didn't go well. The gravity bag has a speed roll, like a dimmer light, but it's to control the speed. And I had it turned all the way down, which meant it was completely open. So I pour the bag in, or pour the formula into the bag and immediately drops to the floor. So I pick the tube up, close the speed. Okay, I get it. Now I understand what I'm doing. I plug it into Gavin, open up both these ports, and we're all like looking at this bag as it's dripping into Gavin. He's like, oh, I can feel it. I can feel it filling my stomach. And he gets up off the couch and he takes his pole and he's walking around the house and he's smiling and he's checking himself out in the mirror and he takes his pole out to the backyard and walks around the garden and he waters the flowers. And my mom and I were just like, oh God, thank God. Thank God. I just got like an hour back. I mean, an hour of my life back several times over because I didn't have to hand feed him. It was an incredible win. And had I known to ask for it when he was in the hospital, none of what had transpired over the previous 2 weeks would have happened. Nobody gave us an option. Nobody ever really talked about it. So if you are going through this and you're not given an option for a gravity bag, make sure you ask for one. So then my mom's like, so what came for you? And I'm assuming it's like, somebody sent me a present, a congratulations for, walking Gavin through hell, a little R&R or something or another. But no, it was a box of books that a printer had sent me of my book, The Enoughness Method. So before Gavin had been diagnosed, I actually finished writing. It's called The Enoughness Method. It is a burnout recovery workbook. It is essentially what I would travel around the country training people with, but I put it into a workbook format and released it. And it's everywhere you can buy books. But it was released May of 2024, and I got like advanced copies that day. I opened up the box. I totally forgot I had even done this. I forgot I wrote a book. That's how immersed I was in this experience. Immediately flip it open and I start coloring in it. So in the Enoughness Method, there are a lot of these tools, but there's also journal questions. There's coloring opportunities. It's a great little tool, and it gets great reviews. And so I was actually using the tools in the Enoughness Method to support me over the next several months of my healing journey. And it started that day. Gavin got his gravity bag and gravity pole. It's symbolic. It really was. Like, we were on two very different journeys based on the same experience. I hope we never have to go through it again. I have a lot of respect for people who are currently going through it. My heart goes out to you. It's the hardest thing anyone can do. If you're a caregiver, I hope your season is short. I hope your loved one prevails. I hope there's a lot of healing and a lot of love around you. I hope this season of I Saved You Now Do the Dishes has provided you some humor, some healing, some solace, some peace, tools, tips, and most importantly, I hope somebody else does your dishes. You will meet Gavin in season 2 starting this fall. I love you. Until then, take care.